From analog.
Hi, Jim. You've a great signal up here. You're 5.9 plus.
You're digital.
We are everywhere you want to be. This is the CQ Blind Pams Podcast.
Hi, my call is W5MRR, and my name is Marvin, and I'm located in southwest Louisiana, a little town called DeRidder, Louisiana. Today we're going to talk about the Yaesu FT70D. There we go. I had to readjust the microphone a little bit. Anyway, today we're going to talk about the FT70D. This is a nice little radio if you want to try the System Fusion Wires X, if you have repeaters around or a hotspot. It's just a nice little entry-level radio. I think I saw them on sale for $160 somewhere, one of the ham stores online. So, let's kind of get started with this thing. We'll start out and describe the radio and a few of the main functions that makes it usable by a blind person. At the top of the radio, you'll find on the left side your SMA connector for your antennas and all that. And the other only thing on top of the radio is a knob. We're going to call that the clicker knob for this podcast. On the left side of the radio, the first thing that you're going to find, the biggest thing, is the push to talk. The next button down is the monitor button. If you hold that button in, you will hear the squelch. Yeah. And what the heck? Why did my radio talk? Oh, I know why, because it just turned 8 o'clock. So if I hit the monitor, there is your squelch. The next button down is the volume button. And the way this works, which is kind of an odd thing, you hold that volume button down and you turn the clicker knob to the right to increase it, to the left to decrease it. The bottom button on the left side is the power button. And you turn it on, hold it down for a couple of seconds, and you hear it beep and it comes on. And turning it off, same thing, except for it doesn't beep. That same power button, and I should have done this while it was on there. If you tap that button, that power button, just tap it, that locks the keypad. See, as you can tell, it's locked, not going anywhere. Now it's unlocked, and you do that by tapping the power button. That covers the left side. Let's move along to the right side of the radio. You'll feel 3 rubber covers. The top one is the speaker mic cover to plug your speaker microphone in. That is actually the plug that you're going to use if you have the RT Systems cable and software. The next little rubber cover down is the mini USB plug. You would use that if you were going to do a firmware update, something like that. And the bottom cover is the AC plug where your charger goes. So, let's move along to the front of the radio. Of course, at the top, you'll feel your display. And just below that is a button, and it is titled GM. And it's a button that sits all by itself. There are some parts of that you can hit that function in that button. I don't recall exactly where it is because I am guilty of looking at the FT70 pocket reference. So, the next button down is the function button. And it is, again, it's all by itself. And that button serves as the A key on your DTMF pad. Which, let's sort of stop and just go through these right fast so we can get them out of the way. The function button, which is just above the regular keypad, serves as the A key. The B key is the first button on the left on the regular keypad. The C key is the second one down along the left side. And the D key is the bottom one on the left-hand corner. So we've gotten those A, B, C, D keys out of the way. Okay, let's start on the top row, and we're going to go left to right. The first button on the left is the mode button. And what that button does is it changes your radio from analog to digital. And there is a function mode button that will access some of the fusion controls. The next button over on the right is the number 1 button. The number 1, the function of that button is power. So you would hit function 1, and then up on your clicker knob, if you're, for example, on low power and you want to go to high power, you would click the clicker knob to the right twice, press the push to talk button, and then now that setting is saved in the radio. The number 2 key is the scan key. And the way that works, and we'll talk about going from memory to VFO here in just a minute, but if you're in memory mode where you can take your clicker knob and click through the memories or press the memory number of the channel you want, if you press function and 2, it's going to scan all of your memories. And to stop the scan, you just hit the push to talk. The number 3 key is where you're going to store and access DTMF memories, which you could, back in the old days when we had auto patches, a lot of people used those DTMF memories to store phone numbers, but nowadays I could see a very good I could put, for example, in DTMF memory number 1, I could put the sequence to connect to the Blind Hams Bridge on All-Star. So, those things, those DTMF memories could come in handy. The far right key on the top row is the band button. And and that it's exactly what it says it is. You have 2 meters and 440, and there are a few things like aircraft and stuff like that you can listen to with the FT70, and there are menu settings that you can set that will make that memory button act certain ways. That button is also one of the buttons you're going to use to do transfers from RT systems to your talkie, or from your talkie to RT systems. So the top left button and the top right button, the mode and the band keys, those are the ones you're going to use when we talk about that in part 2. Let's talk about the middle row of keys. The first key in the middle row is reverse. If you're on a repeater and you want to listen to the input of that repeater, you would tap that, and then it would just switch your radio from you'd be listening on the input of the repeater and transmitting on the output of the repeater. The function key to that button has to do with searching for PL tones on a repeater. If you do not know what it is, you can search for it. The next key over in the middle row is the number 4 key, which is the step key, which, if I were you, my opinion would be I would leave the step alone, unless you're really doing something wild and crazy, because the factory setting is 5kc. So if you get in your VFO and you click the clicker knob, you know you're moving along 5kc. The next key over in the middle row, which would be the number 5 key, that is squelch type. You have 3 choices here with the function in the number 5. You have digital coded squelch. You have your regular PL tone where you key your radio and it sends out a PL tone and opens the repeater. And the third choice you have is when you use a PL tone on both your transmit and receive. And this radio actually is capable of, if you had a repeater somebody set up that had 2 different tones, one for the transmit and one for the receive, this radio is capable of handling that, and those settings are in the menus. Alright, let's move on to the next key. The next key on the middle row is the VFO and memory key. And that's the far right key in the middle row. So if you are, for example, I know I am in memory mode sitting on my repeater frequency. So if I tap the far right key in the middle row, now I am in VFO mode. So I could enter a frequency. I could enter 146.520. Now we're on 146.52 because I just entered it in the VFO, and if I tap that key again, then I'm back in memory mode. Now let's stop right here, and what we're going to do is, just like we did with the ABCD key, let's go through the right column on the far right-hand side. The top right key is the star key. That VFO memory key, that is the pound key. And the bottom right key is the 0 key. So we have covered those. So let's go to the bottom row of keys. The bottom left key is called AMS. And essentially, if you press that, what that does is, if you have the function turned on, when somebody calls you on analog, your radio automatically goes to analog, and you can answer the call. Or, if you tap it and turn that function off, then you would have to press the band button to switch over to digital. The function of that button has to do with connecting and reconnecting to your fusion repeater and all that. Number 7 is the next key over on the bottom row. And the number 7 is the first of two. Yaesu calls them P1 and P2. What that amounts to is they're personal keys. You can set them to what you want in the menu. I have mine's my function of number 7. I have it set up as the mic gain because if you're on analog, you'll find with the FT70 that you want that mic gain turned all the way up. So I have it set up. If I hit function 7, the mic gain comes up, and I can take my clicker knob and twist it to the right side a few clicks, then hit the push to talk button, and I know then my mic gain's up all the way. The number 8 key is the second of those P. That's P2. And you can pretty much set those two keys to just about anything in the menu. The next button on the bottom row is the number 9, and that is skip. We talked about scanning way back up here on key number 2. So let's say you're in your memory mode and you're scanning along, and you have the weather radio frequency in one of those memories. Well, obviously you wouldn't want your scan every time to stop on the weather radio, so you would get to that memory and then hit function function 9, and that way your scan is going to skip that particular memory. The 0 key, which is the bottom right corner, the last of the Mohicans, that key is, the function of that key is, Yaesu calls it repeater. So you have 3 choices. You get the function 0, and your choices are plus, simplex, and minus. Those are your 3 choices. So let's say you're setting up a repeater, which in the Yaesu radio, you set everything up with your radio in VFO mode, and then you can transfer what all you have set up in the VFO. You can transfer that to a memory channel. So let's say I entered 147.24, which is the repeater that's here at the house, and I want a plus 600 on that. So I'm going to hit function 0, turn my clicker knob to the plus 600, and then hit the push to talk key, and that makes that sets that setting into the radio. That covers the keypad, all the little buttons and doors and all that stuff. Just a couple of things on the bottom of the radio toward the belt clip. If you feel, you will feel a little button. And if you take your finger and move it backward towards you, if you press down right there, the battery will pop off. Then you hold the belt clip, take the belt clip, hold it, and then the battery just lifts out. And the way you put the battery back on, you put the top into place and then just squeeze the bottom. Now on farther toward the keypad, there is a small switch there. And right now I have the radio upside down in my hand with the keypad facing me. So if you take your thumbnail and find that little switch that if you feel the button go forward toward the front of the radio, you find that little switch, and I have to use my thumbnail to flip it. But what that switch does is it locks the battery into place. Another thing on the FT70 is we talked about memory and VFO being the far right button in the middle row. If you're in memory mode, this radio has 999 memories. Yes, you can use the clicker knob to count, but I'm not that patient. But if you are in memory mode and you want to know that you want to go to memory number 4, you just press the number 4 on the keypad. Well, I guess if I'm in memory mode, I can. Okay, I'm in memory mode now. Okay. Let's give that another shot. Now that I know I'm in memory mode, I'm going to press the number 4 key on the keypad. And you heard the short beep when I hit the key and then the longer beep. That means I'm now on memory number 4. And it works that way through the entire radio. If you have a memory in 999, you can press 999 when you're in memory mode, and it will go to memory 999. So, I hope somebody got a little bit out of this podcast. If you have any questions for me, feel free to email me at w5mrr1@gmail.com, or better yet, catch me on the bridge. So, we're going to end this one out because part 2 is going to be with the RT systems and the FT70, and that's going to be quite a bit longer. Everybody have a wonderful day, and 73.
Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and visit www.blindhams.com.